Nigeria passes the 100,000 milestone in COVID-19 cases. Edo chapter of the All Progressives Congress says it will appeal Saturday's court judgment that handed victory to Governor Obaseki in the alleged certificate forgery case. In international news, U.S. President Donald Trump knows what feels like to be impeached. Well, he may be impeached again. In sport, Super Eagles former coach Christian Chukwu dispels death rumors.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Nigeria has crossed the 100,000 case mark in COVID-19 infections. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and CDC confirmed on Sunday 1,024 new cases that pushed the tally up to 100,087. The agency also reported 5 new deaths as a result of complications from COVID-19, while 613 patients recovered and were discharged. As usual, Lagos recorded the highest number of new cases at 653, followed by Plateau at a hugely distant second with 73 cases. Benue, Zamfara and the Federal Capital Territory posted cases in the 40s, while Rivers, Ondo, Adamawa and Kaduna reported cases in the 20s. Edo had 18, Ogun reported 16, and Imo 12. Kano, Yobe, Ekiti, Jigawa, and Osun posted numbers in single digits. Total number of fatalities related to COVID-19 stands at 1,358, and 80,030 patients have recovered. People's Democratic Party members who were present at the just concluded State Congress in Jigawa State are being accused of defying COVID-19 protocols at the event. This is noteworthy at this time when the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic is more aggressive in the country. This is alleged to have happened in a state that has recorded more than 400 COVID-19 cases and 12 deaths. The state has announced steps to prevent the spread of the second wave of the pandemic. In line with that, Governor Muhammad Badar Abubakar has banned all gatherings of more than 50 persons, home work for civil servants, and closure of all primary and secondary schools. These measures include compulsory wearing of face masks, keeping physical distancing, regular hand washing, and use of sanitizer. But the PDP gathering was said to have flouted all these measures during the State Congress, despite a letter from the PDP National Headquarters to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, that the Congress will be held in accordance with NCC directives. Media reports say the gathering in Jigawa largely ignored the guidelines, and delegates and other party members violated the state's COVID-19 safety protocols. Ekiti State's Governor Kayode Fayemi has banned public gatherings of more than 20 persons and imposed an 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew in the state until further notice. The directives take immediate effect. The new guidelines were announced in Ado-Ekiti on Sunday by the State Commissioner for Information and Values Orientation, Akimbowale Omwale. The announcement said the new measures are necessary as a result of the alarming rate at which the second wave of COVID-19 was spreading in the country. The commissioner said there is need for the state governments to be proactive by taking decisive steps to secure the citizens from getting infected during the second wave of the pandemic. He urged the people to continue observing the COVID-19 protocols and abide by the curfew and new government restrictions. Religious houses of worship would get a break. They were allowed to hold 2 services to take place on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Each service should not extend beyond 2 p.m. on those days. The federal government says the Ibadan to Kano Railway project is being held back by the failure of the Chinese government to issue a $5.3 billion loan to Nigeria. Transportation Minister Rotimi Amechi made the point in Abuja and said the people said the federal government, had approved the contract for the project. The minister's media aide, Taye Edeni, said in a statement the country is waiting for the Chinese government and the bank to approve the multi-billion-dollar loan to construct the railway line. The minister said a year after Nigeria applied for the loan, the money has not come in. He said the project cannot begin without the loan being issued. Once built, the rail line is expected to facilitate movement of cargoes that would reduce the fuel tankers that cause accidents on the highways. The minister said for now, cargo can only be moved by train between Lagos and Ibadan. He said once the rail lines are connected to seaports, the country would be able to move cargoes all the way to Kano from Lagos. The Senate of the Lagos State University, LASU, has appointed its Deputy Vice Chancellor, Administration Professor Demolauke, as the institution's acting Vice Chancellor at the Emergency Senate meeting on Monday. Oke replaces outgoing Vice Chancellor Olariwaju Fagbohun, whose term expires today, Monday. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu had cancelled the previous process for the appointment of a new Vice Chancellor after petitions against the selection procedure. He has directed an immediate fresh process that would end in 45 days. More than 18 professors from at least 10 universities were said to have applied for the position. The All People's Congress in Edo State says it will appeal Saturday's ruling by the Abuja Federal High Court that dismissed the case of alleged certificate forgery brought against Governor Godwin Obaseki by the party. Justice Ahmed Mohammed had dismissed the case on Saturday, ruling that the plaintiffs, APC, had failed to prove their allegations of forgery against the defendants. He said while a forgery case like the one filed by APC must be proved beyond reasonable doubt, the APC case had no iota of evidence and that it could not prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. APC's Edo State Publicity Secretary said the party's legal team would immediately begin work on filing an appeal. He also expressed hope that the will of the people and rule of law would prevail.
Coming up, African stories. Zimbabwe look forward to boosting its value-added exports under the African Continental Free Trade Deal. And later, international news. U.S. President Donald Trump knows what it feels like to be impeached. Well, he may be impeached again.
You are watching AN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. The African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement that went into effect on January the 1st has given many African countries the opportunity to improve their trade activities as they are open to nearly 1.5 billion consumers. Zimbabwe is hoping to boost value-added exports under the agreement. A correspondent for Iowa Kutuya has the story.
About 85% of Zimbabwe's exports are raw minerals and commodities, while manufactured good exports contribute a mere 9% of gross domestic product. The Southern African country plans to double the latter and increase the share of value-added exports under the new trade dispensation. Its strong agricultural base is a low-hanging fruit to achieving this.
As a country, we have comparative advantage in terms of the horticulture. Yeah, and with COVID, etc., people are now focusing on healthy foodstuffs. So we produce the avocados, the macadamia, the oranges. The prices went up due to COVID, vitamin C, etc., garlic, ginger. So we are definitely making a push towards that.
A series of virtual and physical trade shows are lined up, and women and youth-led businesses will be trained to get them export ready. Trade experts stress that if Zimbabwe is to fully maximize on the benefits of the free trade area, it needs to expand the range of products that it sells to the wider market, and it must produce those goods efficiently. That will require the resuscitation of idle industries, massive investment to upgrade technology, and ongoing economic reforms to deliver.
The macroeconomic environment has to be supportive, so companies need to be competitive. You might be export ready, but the ease of doing business must also complement that. We appreciate efforts being done by government in terms of assisting issues to do with ease of doing business. But from our end, we are also working on the ease of doing export business, removing unnecessary documentation, etc., so that people spend time in the factory rather than working on the necessary documentation required for you to export.
The African Continental Free Trade Area will also pile pressure on domestic manufacturers.
Competitiveness is quite key. And when I say competitiveness, I mean production of a quality good at least cost. Because now, as much as it brings opportunities, we have now Nigeria coming through, Egypt is a big power, even our neighbor South Africa. So we have to be able to compete with them.
In 2016, Zimbabwe imposed import restrictions on several products to protect local industries that were battling cheaper foreign goods.
The coronavirus pandemic has been wreaking havoc on many economies, especially in Africa. Uganda's tourism industry is grappling with tough economic conditions created by the pandemic. Uganda Broadcasting Corporation's Charlotte Amoge reports.
City, some of the hospitality businesses and tourism activities such as rafting have been heavily impacted. TJ Lonsdale, the owner of Nile Horseback Safaris Ginger, explains further.
People are under the mistaken impression that rafting is finished, but it hasn't. It's still here. Yeah. But with the Asimba Dam, the perception within people in the country is that the rafting had finished where it hasn't. And the rafting is probably was the main tourist attraction in Ginger. And so when people came to Ginger, they might stay for a couple of days and do rafting and then maybe horse riding or quad biking or mountain biking. But these days, it's a struggle to convince people just to come to Ginger.
The Bourbon restaurant in Ginger City is among the businesses that have been heavily impacted.
In the beginning, in November 2019, the water level was rising slowly several times a day. Later on, this place could not be used anymore as the water levels wouldn't go back down. As you can see here on the Bourbon logo, the water levels are pretty high.
Despite these challenges, the tourism and hospitality players in Ginger have devised ways to circumnavigate the situation.
We had to be creative and innovative to survive these issues. We therefore utilize this area here and create a new beautiful environment for our customers in the so-called jungle.
Nonetheless, the current COVID-19 pandemic has helped propel domestic tourism within the region.
Ugandans would never come and see us before, and we struggled to try and promote horse riding amongst our national population. But these days, now our business is about 99% Ugandan clients, which is great. Because people are taking the effort to come out and do something that they're a little bit afraid of to begin with, but once they've done it, they feel that it's a nice, easy, relaxing way to see a little bit of Uganda that they might not have seen before.
Since COVID-19, our fellow Ugandans are enjoying the beauty of their country more and more, which we can see in the number.
When we return, international news. U.S. President Donald Trump knows what it feels like to be impeached. Well, he may be impeached again. And later, sport. Super Eagles former coach Christian Chukwu dispels death rumors.
You are watching ANN.
Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, African News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Efforts to hold U.S. President Donald Trump accountable for his role in inciting the mob that invaded the U.S. Capitol last week gained momentum on Saturday, with Democratic members of the U.S. House of Representatives announcing they will table articles of impeachment against the president today, Monday. A California Democratic representative, Ted Lieu, who helped draft the charges, said in a tweet on Saturday the articles had 180 co-sponsors. Some Republican members are beginning to sound support for the exercise. Democratic members of the House and now some Republicans are anxious to see the president removed from office before his term ends in 9 days. A second Trump impeachment would trigger a Senate trial, which will very likely begin on January the 20th, the day Joe Biden becomes president, and Democrats take control of the Senate as well. An alternative to impeachment was offered where Vice President Mike Pence was urged to invoke the 25th Amendment, which would trigger the removal of the president immediately. Pence says is keeping that option open in case the president became unhinged again. An overwhelming number of Democratic lawmakers and some Republicans have expressed support for removing Trump from power or censuring his actions. Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska has called for Trump to resign, making her the first Republican senator to endorse a presidential resignation. She told a hometown newspaper, quote, "I want him to resign. I want him out. He has caused enough damage," end quote. The scene at the U.S. Capitol here last Wednesday was chaotic and very dangerous for journalists covering the insurrection. Viewers saw the disturbing videos at home and on social media. But correspondent Nathan King describes first-hand knowledge of the mob he describes as very hostile.
We could feel the anger of the crowd building even before the storming of the Capitol. We were called fake news as usual, but you could tell something was different. People were spitting at us. They were using anti-Chinese slurs at one point to a Chinese gentleman to my left. We basically advised him to leave. It was getting bad. And then, of course, a group of Trump supporters, rioters, came up the hill after being basically whipped up into a frenzy by the president here at the White House, just outside. They came up the hill, and the Capitol Police either were incompetent, complicit, or just didn't know what was going on, because they essentially let them through. And the storming of the Capitol happened. You've seen the pictures inside, but outside, I can tell you the atmosphere was awful. There was a meme that they kept on repeating: "Can you hear me now? Can you see this? Can you hear me now?" There was a real feeling that they had done something impressive, that they were basically doing exactly what was required of them, which was to stop Joe Biden being certified as the next president, overturning it. There were so few police, and the details are coming out about why. And obviously the White House had something to do with the fact that the National Guard weren't there. The DC police came very late because they weren't invited there. The Capitol Hill police were just completely overwhelmed, and as I said, and I hate to say this, incompetent unless they were complicit. Because literally they put lawmakers' lives at risk, the media's lives at risk. Anyone who disagreed with that mob was going to be in trouble. There was so much bravery. You see journalists like me in front of the camera, the people behind the camera, the producers, the people who took most of the abuse, that organised the logistics, were so much braver because they had to protect their equipment. I also want to thank my electric scooter. Had I not had that with me, I don't think I would have got away, because as they were starting moving and moving to destroy the equipment, I left on my scooter. People spat at me, were chasing me. Had that not thing been fully charged, Chinese scooter by the way, shout me, I think I would have been in trouble. So I just want to thank everyone. What does this mean? Well, I walked to the White House and I'm pretty angry, actually. I'm going to speak to some officials. A lot of people are resigning. A lot of officials here are angry, off the record and on the record. But I'm going to have a word with the press people because I just want them to know that essentially the Commander-in-Chief put our lives at risk yesterday, and he knew what he was doing.
To another disturbing story, at least 62 passengers are feared dead when a Sriwijaya air jet crashed into the sea soon after taking off from the Indonesian capital, Jakarta, on Saturday. The jet's black boxes were located on Sunday as human body parts and pieces of the plane were retrieved. The Boeing 737-500 with 62 passengers and crew was on a domestic flight on Saturday before it disappeared from radar screens 4 minutes after takeoff. This was the first major air crash in Indonesia since 189 passengers and crew were killed in 2018 when a Lion Air Boeing 737 MAX also plunged into the Java Sea soon after takeoff from Soekarno-Hatta International Airport. Aviation Safety Network's database shows that even before the latest crash, more people had died in air crashes in Indonesia than in any other country over the past decade.
Up next, sport. Super Eagles former coach Christian Chukwu dispels death rumors. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you'll need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, African News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, Super Eagles former captain and coach Christian Chukwu has dispelled rumors of his death. Chukwu, who turned 70 last Monday, says he does not know from where the false story originated, but confirms he's fine and healthy. Football Association is probing Eberechi Eze's visit to his former club QPR on Saturday for their FA Cup third-round tie against Fulham. The winger, who joined Crystal Palace from QPR for £20 million in the summer, sat in the director's box at the Kian Prince Foundation Stadium and saw Fulham beat Rangers 2-0 in extra time. FA says it did not grant the 22-year-old approval to attend the game. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.